Hello, this is Kate from Moose and J Paper. I wanted to go over the difference between our different paper types. If you're unfamiliar, we offer 3 different paper types: standard matte, premium matte, and premium glossy. All of which are non-vinyl, so whichever you choose, you can still write on it with any normal pen. Even the glossy, you don't have weird smudging. It's able to dry fairly quickly. I have never had a problem with it, which is great because I don't want to have to remember that I have to use special pens or bust out some certain markers to be able to write on something and have it stay. So that was a preference that I chose when sourcing the different paper types. So I wanted a balance between how they look and how they perform. And this is what I ended up with. So I'll start with our standard matte, and I'm actually super happy about our standard matte. It is definitely, just by the nature of these other 2 papers, this is going to be a whole lot cheaper because it is not waterproof like the premium matte, and it doesn't have that glossy sheen. But I took particular care to source a paper that still looked really nice. So even if you order the standard matte, don't think that you are getting something of a lesser quality. It's simply just a different look. Granted, it doesn't have, like I said, the waterproof aspect of a premium matte, but that's to be expected. So this is going to perform very well. It's still a high quality paper that takes to printing quite nicely. And so the hallmark of the standard matte is that it's going to look more like a matte you'd expect in a magazine, where it has that sort of fade to it. And to be honest, this is one of my favorite things. In a lot of circumstances, like with these purples, I prefer the standard matte to the premium sometimes, simply because it has that classic premium, it has that classic fade. Focus you here. It has that classic faded look. So if you are used to the way that mattes have looked in magazines, this to me has the closest feel to that. Where I was a longtime subscriber to Craft magazine, and this just makes me it just reminds me of that. And it just has that nice, like, almost a gray wash to it. In the description on our website, I say something to the effect of, it's like putting a soft Instagram filter, which I always go for the hazy filters. So to me, it's like putting an Instagram filter on all of the papers, or all of the photos. So I would recommend standard matte it performs very well for blacks. So if you're just doing black scripts, then and you don't need the waterproof aspect of the premium, I would probably recommend just going with the standard matte because it looks very nice. It's not quite as deep, dark, crisp matte or black as you'll get with the premium, but it is a very nice black. It's just not gray. And as you can see, all of these patterns hold up very well. It's still definitely a very nice look. The biggest hallmark being that sort of gray look that you get with a standard matte. So this is our standard. While we're still in the mattes, this is the premium matte. You'll see just a little bit brighter colors. You'll get just a little bit more color fidelity. That black is just a little deeper. And I should do a photo comparison. But right now I'm looking through, since most of the time you're not going to be working with photos anyway, I didn't want to include them in this general comparison. I wanted to go with kind of the main course of what you would be looking to compare against. So you'll see that this purple is just a little bit darker. You don't have that softness that comes with the standard matte. You get a little bit crisper, darker of a purple line here, where it just is a little bit more full, and this black is just a little bit darker, but otherwise, like, they're very similar. And this particular style of premium matte is still buttery soft. You can still write on it with any pen, but it is also waterproof. So if you want that water resistance, this is a great way to go. Or if you just want that deeper, darker color and the sort of the extra softness. Now I will do a quick comparison here where I'll just lay these on top of each other. As you can see, very similar across the board. As you can see, very similar across the board, but you are going to get just that little bit of brighter coloration with the premium. And here's where you notice that definitely a significant difference, where because this has that sort of graying, you get a different color result. And again, it's a personal preference, really. When you see the digital version, it's going to be closer to this color, and then you just know that in the standard, it's going to have that little bit of fade to it. And you can see here again, like, the black is just a deeper, crisper black in the premium. So then it just becomes a preference of if you want that sort of softness to your gray or to your blacks, or if you want it to be a darker, crisper color. And with a lot of these colors, like, they're not that different. It's definitely brighter in the premium, but it's not that the standard is totally faded. It just has that little bit of softness to it. And this is, again, for these types of prints, that would be my recommendation, is you could, then it's just personal preference between if you need the waterproof or you want those brighter colors, and you want the softness of matte, or if you want to have that sort of softer look, a little more faded of the standard. But either one, as far as quality, looks great. It's just a matter of which look you like better. Now, here is the Glossy. And Glossy, as you would imagine, has the best color fidelity. These are going to have the brightest, strongest colors. If you really want your colors to be bright, then this is what I would recommend. I would recommend going with Glossy. But again, it's just a matter of personal preference, because the premium matte is still quite bright. They're very similar in color, and so this is just that you get that extra shine. And so I will compare against the premium here. Let me fan these back out. Okay. So this is where the matte, just by the nature of that sort of warmth that you get with a matte versus a glossy, versus you get a little bit of a cooler tone when you add a gloss. Let's put it in focus so you can actually see what I'm talking about. You will get some color difference. Glossy is nearly always going to be the closest to what a computer will say, although, as we know, all monitors are different. They're all calibrated differently. You're going to get a general color that is similar to what you're looking for, or what you expect from the computer, but there's always that little bit of difference. In any case, you're going to get a little bit cooler of a color. You're going to get a little bit cooler of a color in the glossy than in the matte. But both are quite bright. They're very similar in how they look. The blacks are nearly the same. You are still going to get a little bit darker because you don't have that softness in a glossy. You get that little bit of reflection, which gives you a little darker color. So where you have just that little bit of cool coloration in the glossy versus the warm coloration in the matte. And again, glossy and matte tend to be a personal preference. Both handle themselves very well. And as you'll see, something like these dots, it's really just whichever you want. You're not going to lose too much with switching between them. Glossy, premium matte, standard matte. So if you want to see how they do with strong colors underneath them, you can see a little bit of the striping underneath the standard matte. It is a little bit thinner of a paper to where if that's going to bother you, you're going to want to do a little bit of color correction underneath, because you're not going to get a fully opaque thick color on top. In the glossy, you can still see them a little bit. So this is really just a different thing altogether. You're still going to be able to see underneath. In fact, probably more so in the glossy. I would think you can see that striping. It's pretty similar across the board. You can still see a little bit. Again, because these are not vinyl papers, but these are actual paper, I don't like the feeling of vinyl all that much. And so I heavily prefer using actual paper. So I would say out of the three of these, the premium matte probably upholds the best, where you're going to see the least amount through it. But if it's going to be a dark black, like obviously this is as dark as it gets to be underneath it, you're still going to be able to see a little bit through those. So don't expect these to do full block cover up, which for me, this is sufficient. If it's going to bother me to have something underneath, I would just do some color correction under, as opposed to trying to get a very opaque sticker, because I prefer to have very thin stickers. I don't want to add that any more extra bulk to my planner pages than I need to. So these are nice to where you have the color quality that you might get without the plasticiness. So I feel like these are a great balance. And then you have obviously those three levels where you have the most economical in the standard matte that still performs very well. You have this beautiful matte in the premium, and of course the glossy is fantastic. While you can certainly tell that there is a difference between them, it's not a difference of, pixelated or low quality versus high quality. It's just soft versus bright but matte, bright but glossy. So again, standard, premium, glossy. And of course, we'll look at the one with the most obvious difference. Here again is going to be this is where you'll see the biggest contrast is in a solid color, particularly in a dark color. So you have that muted, soft matte that feels very classic. This feels very much like a matte magazine. The premium matte, which has this really much brighter color than you'd expect generally from a matte, without having that glossy sheen, which is great. And this one also is the only one that boasts that it is waterproof, so that is lovely, especially because it still retains that like soft paper quality about it. So you have the soft faded, a much brighter, warmer matte, and then you have a cool tone glossy. Depends on what you are looking for in your colors. These are all the same color, just rendered differently on different papers. So again, standard, premium matte, glossy. So you have the standard matte, the premium matte, and the glossy. All of which have very nice blacks. The shiny has that, or the glossy has that little bit of shine to where you almost get a graying effect, but it has the darkest black. Matte being very, very similar. This is a really beautiful black, very dark. And then the matte holds its own in the standard, where it's a little bit more gray. It's definitely more muted. And that is my comparison on our various paper types. Standard matte, premium matte, and premium glossy. So let me know if you have any questions, and if you want to see other comparisons, I will come out with a photo comparison at some point, because I think that's where you see the biggest difference in which one you choose. I hope this was helpful in kind of going through what would change in your expectations depending on which paper type you chose, and I hope this was a good array of examples for you to get a good feel for those expectations. So let me know what you thought, and if you have any other thoughts, suggestions, or other videos you'd like to see, other things you want me to show you, and I will link all of these things down in the description so that you can see and feel and purchase any of them that you would like. All right, have a great day.